Is any American government that wants to settle the American-Palestinian problem must go by way of pushing the Arab countries or Palestine to recognize Israel. And Israel will not make peace without recognition. Hamas, that has taken over Gaza, cannot recognize Israel. Abbas, that is in charge of West Bank and Ramallah, that has recognized Israel, does not have full control over Palestine. So with this kind of arrangement, America cannot impose peace, but will ask for negotiation. That negotiation cannot work unless Hamas agrees with Abbas and they take a common position to recognize Israel. And when they recognize Israel, Israel will now, it will be a give and take. Israel in return will allow for a two-state solution, which was the decision of the United Nations in 1947, which the Arabs rejected and attacked and started a program in November 1947, which eventually led to the declaration of the State of Israel in May 1948.
There's a factor there that I want to point out too, which I think, if handled well, we may actually see peace there during Clinton's, if she becomes president. And that is the influence of Syria over the Palestinians. If that Assad is removed, it's a big, giant step towards peace in that area, because he's been, he's been fueling things in that area for so long. So, and they see support in there. And that's why Russia is interested in all this stuff. So once he is removed, we are one step closer to these two.
It cannot be removed.
Well, what I'm saying, whether removed or killed, or something happened to him.
No.
Once something happens to him, he's no longer there, then, we may, that factor alone may actually, because to me, he threatens any agreement that can come between these two parties.
But this brings us to the fact that the United States and Russia will have to agree on how to solve the Syrian conflict.
The Syrian conflict, to me, will, at the end of the day, resolve itself. And I'll tell you why. Because you see, the rebel groups, they're not going to go anywhere. With all these bombings that have been done in Aleppo, if you want to go by that alone, they're supposed to have just disappear. They're not going to go anywhere, because they are being armed and trained surreptitiously by foreign powers and so on and so on. And you need that. You need that there. Otherwise, Assad just go back to power here, go back to what it used to be, and that would be the end of the story.
Let me chip in something. Historically, Assad's father was supported by the Russians. The Russians have a long-term relationship with Syria. And with what is happening now, in the geopolitical calculus, Russia has come to stay in Syria. And considering that, if you look at the Sunni-Shia equation, the Assad, an Alawite, is a Shia. And the Iranians are interested. These Iranians are supporting Hezbollah in Lebanon. They are supporting Hamas in Palestine. They want to envelope Israel. So, and again, when Russia allowed America to have its way in Libya, Russia regretted it. Russia will never allow America, more so since America played a weaker role in Syria. America refused to supply weapons to the rebels at the appropriate time. Now they are weak. Putin has done his mathematics well. That status quo will remain. The same opposition that Assad's father got, that's what his son is getting. His father conquered all. His son, having survived up to this time, will conquer all. So I sincerely think that the geopolitical equation in that axis,
Assad is going to go.
Will definitely
will go.
We'll come back to this discussion, but now let's go to our correspondent in Washington, D.C., Ayotunde Balogun, who is standing by to tell us more about the U.S. elections. Ayotunde, thank you so much for checking into the program.
Thank you so much, Temitope. I'm very happy to be here, of course. So we're all excited for those of us who are covering this election, historic as it is. And yes, here in Washington, D.C., we're still keeping our fingers crossed to know exactly what the eventual outcome will be. But from what we've been seeing so far, it will appear that Donald Trump seems to be having a slight edge at the moment, particularly in some of the battleground states. But of course, we can always say that it's still too close to call at this point. Definitely, there are 50 states, and at the end of the day, today, tomorrow, definitely the picture will become a whole lot clearer. But for now, the Republicans seem to have a slight advantage. But notwithstanding, of course, the Democrats are also still hoping that the tide will turn at some point. But definitely, it's been a very historic election indeed. And earlier on, I was listening to some of the conversations, and you would, marvel at the way the American voters really were able to comport themselves, even though the campaigns were not so fantastic, if I may say, mudslinging, attacks on personalities from the two main candidates. But, the voters feel they have the ultimate say in this one. With their ballots, they can go to the polling stations and, of course, cast their votes. They are making a statement, and definitely they will have the final word at the end of the day. So, whichever way you are, or whichever side you are, perhaps you're a supporter of Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, at the end of the day, you will have to make a choice. So it's really been an interesting one, and we're waiting to see what eventually will be the final outcome, particularly here in Washington, D.C., which, of course, is the seat of power. Temitope.
Well, Ayotunde, Temitope will come to you in a moment, but then I'd like to find out if we could have some specifics. Remember, moments ago, we spoke with your crony, Doug, and he gave us the figures like, 25 out of 50 states, and at that point it had gone like halfway, and we had Trump leading with 140 electoral college votes to Clinton's 104. What has changed between then and now?
Well, it's still very much the same, I can tell you, Charles. It's still very much the same. Nothing has really changed, like you rightly pointed out. So that was why I said it still appears that at the electoral, vote, of course, it's still something that Donald Trump, if he's watching wherever he is, watching the way the results are coming in, he will be confident, at least up to this point. But like I said, it's still not over yet. It's still a long way to go to really decide eventually how this will pan out. The tide can turn at any moment in time, but it's still the same from what we are seeing at the moment. No changes yet at this point. Charles?
Now, the whole of, I beg your pardon, the whole of this campaign, Donald Trump was very active on Twitter. If he wasn't pleased about anything, he would most likely tweet it, to let people know what he's thinking at that moment. So throughout this counting of votes, and as the results are trickling in, has he been active on social media?
Well, it's really hard to say. I wouldn't want to say that he's been active on Twitter. Don't forget that in one of the campaigns, just before the election, the U.S. President Barack Obama, at one of the campaign rallies, made a statement, it kind of like a joke, perhaps you would say, where he said that the campaign team of Donald Trump